So the British have been very deeply involved in the Palestinian education system. And I think that to this day, the British have about 30,000 Palestinian teachers on their payroll in, some way or another. And they found that the curriculum is very much geared towards radicalizing the Muslim youth.
Take the first step towards online privacy. Get NordVPN.
Tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes a duty. So said Thomas Jefferson. Go to bit.ly/lawful tax protest or bit.ly/make war history and find out why it is a criminal offence to pay central government or local government taxes in the UK. bit.ly/lawful tax protest or bit.ly/make war history. And let's make war history. Now, I want to take it back to something about schooling, because I'm curious to know, Alex, what is it? I didn't know what are the British doing with the schools in Syria? And then there's something I'd like to add to this conversation.
Oh, yes. So we know a lot about this because there are these organizations in the world that I didn't know they existed, but I can't rattle off the exact name of the organization, but it's something to the effect exactly of inspecting the content of curriculum of an education system, something like that. They went to Gaza, for example. No, not to Gaza, to West Bank, I think. And what they do is they take the school curriculum, they take the textbooks, and they read them, and they see what's in the textbooks. And they found out, so the British have been very deeply involved in the Palestinian education system. And I think that to this day, the British have about 30,000 Palestinian teachers on their payroll in, some way or another. And they found that the curriculum is very much geared towards radicalizing the Muslim youth. So they glorify martyrdom, they glorify rebellion, they glorify violence, and they kind of do this in strange ways. But like they will put question in the text: isn't drinking a cup of bitterness now better than a lifetime of humiliation and subjugation? Things like that, And then they'll have mathematical problems, even like if Yusuf launched 5 rocks at the Israelis and he has 10 rocks in his bag, how many? These kinds of things. I'm not the report that this organization that I can't name right now actually took out a lot of these examples, and they're similar to what I'm saying. I just can't give you the literal exact examples. And then, it's not just Palestine. They've also been very involved in education in Syria. They've been very involved in the education in Bosnia and Herzegovina and many other places. And they've also been very involved in the education, particularly of Muslim youth, in France and in Britain. And there also there have been investigations that have shown that they are absolutely driven and aimed at radicalizing Muslim youth in places like Birmingham, for example. And so there are testimonials about this, and there are extensive reports about this. How this happens, I don't know exactly, but we're not meant to know. This all goes through, NGOs or Quangos, the quasi non-government organizations. The money usually comes from MI6 and the Foreign Office, for example, or the Home Office, and then it gets channeled through NGOs and then through private contractors that then are charged with writing the textbooks and publishing them and distributing them to these Muslim schools in England, in France, I think in Belgium as well, places like Molenbeek. And the effect is radicalizing the Muslim youth, kind of creating an incubator for future radicals, extremists, terrorists, jihadists that might commit terror acts at home or be sent to places like Syria, like Yemen, like Chechnya, Dagestan, wherever they need to stir the pot for their foreign policy objectives.
It's the master blaster. But instead of having a dwarf with one giant thug called the United States, right? They have this army of ants.
Yes.
These angry so-called Muslims that have been radicalized and think that violence is an answer, is a solution to the problems.
Yes, and if you take time to actually study Islam, what it is, what it's supposed to be, you realize that they are lying to them and they're misleading them in the most devious and most sinister way. To give you a concrete example, a lot of people in the West think that if a Muslim sacrifices himself in a jihad without ever bothering to define what even jihad is, that they will go to heaven and get 72 virgins. It's nowhere in Muslim scriptures. They completely invented this out of whole cloth. And then, they field these jihadis who, pray for a photo op, but they don't face the Mecca. They kind of face in a square. They face one another. It's beyond ridiculous, but it doesn't have to be well orchestrated. It doesn't have to be a Hollywood production. It's enough to go into the Western mainstream media, make an impression on, the critical mass of the average consumer of the mainstream narrative, and that's the job done.
Yeah.
So,
like the beheadings by ICE.
Like the beheadings. Why does Iran have a fatwa against a nuclear weapon? Nobody questions this. It's exactly because in Islam, it is proscribed to kill a non-combatant. And with a nuclear weapon, you cannot avoid killing innocent civilians. So that is why Iran, which has preserved Islam more or less in a pure form, has a fatwa against nuclear weapons. But in the West, nobody questions this. And they also don't question how come for the last more than 2,000 years, there has been a very large community of Jews who live in Iran, unmolested, and they're the second largest Jewish community in the whole of Middle East, after Israel. And if the Iranians are these genocidal anti-Semites who want to kill all the Jews, well, what's kept them from killing them in Iran? Right? They've had them more than 2,000 years to do it. Obviously, they're lying to us.